Hello, it's that time again where I'm going to play Rick McDonald's Booktube Spin. This is Booktube Spin number 4, where Rick gets you to pick 20 books, number them 1 to 20, and then on an announced day, which is going to be tomorrow, October the 6th, when I'm recording this, he will spin the wheel, and whatever number comes up, that is the book that you'll read in the next couple of months. Being vague. I will leave a link down below to Rick actually much more clearly explaining this. So, yeah, this is Booktube Spin number 4 for me. I've got some holdovers. I've got a couple of other different categories that I will get to as I go along. But yeah, these are the books that, hey, if it comes up on the wheel, I will select it. Rick this year is going to spin the wheel twice. Not this year. This quarter, he is going to spin the wheel twice. I may just kind of go, okay, I'll flip a coin, and then we'll see which one of those I'm going to do. Like, you know, heads is the first number, tails is the second, just to keep things all at chance. Yeah, just because of, you know, various other things that I'm doing. I'll see how I feel about it on the day. So yeah, let's get in. I'll quickly list my books. I'm going to resist the urge to stop and talk about each one of them for 20 minutes. I'll just hold up the book and say the title and the author and move along. So yes, first category for me. Rick suggests, you don't have to, but you know, you can divide things into different categories. And this year I actually have a couple of categories that I can kind of put things into. A couple of interests. The first one is just holdovers. These are books that were on past lists and that past Booktube Spin lists that I'm still like, oh, I'd really like to get to them. Not that the other books are, you know, equally as loved, but, you know, less of a, I want to get them done. So, yeah. With that said, here, let's go through the books. The first book is The Long Ships by Frans G. Bengtsson. Bengtsson, yes, which with an introduction by Michael Chabon. Number 2 is Rick favorite Tad Williams' Shadowmarch, which, if I like it, there's probably a lot of other rather large books. Which now that I've got glasses, I can even read it, which would be be awesome. So yeah, Shadowmarch, fantasy novel by Tad Williams. Oh, I should make sure I make my piles carefully, and I should make sure that I make my piles not near my little darling Theo, who has I put my book down beside him and he got bored while he was in his place command, and that's what happened. Gotta love your little creatures. Little creature who's at the moment licking a concrete hippo that I have holding the door shut. Speaking of monkeys, I'm going to read The Monkey King, The Journey to the West. Journey to the West by Cheng'en. Yeah. Ancient Chinese literature, which I would love to try. And this is a new translation by, relatively new translation by Julia Lovell. So yeah, we've got that. We've got Elsa Morante, Arturo's Island, Italian novel that actually I picked up while I was in Italy at the Anglo-American bookstore in Rome, back when we could travel and stuff like that. And at some point we'll be able to travel again. But yeah, Elsa Morante's Arturo Island. I picked this up at the same time as I picked up The Leopard. So yeah, looking forward to that. I would be unhappy to get that. Inferno by Eileen, Myles, poet, memoirist, author. This is a novel. I bought this the longest time ago. It is still in the plastic. It's got that shine because it has been plastic wrapped, and I have yet to break it open. So if the number comes up, I could maybe perhaps break it open. And number 6, Paying the Land by Joe Sacco, a nonfiction graphic novel about the Canadian North Canadian North exploitation, the native peoples of the thing, all reported on by Joe Sacco, one of the great comic book journalists of our time, if you even knew that those were such a things. So yeah, that's my first category of the holdovers. The second category, it's Victober, and while I like my Victorian fiction, I especially like Anthony Trollope. I spent a year or so reading like month after month an Anthony Trollope novels. I've always been kind of hesitant to participate in Victober for some reason. Just mass readings of stuff, I just, it hasn't been my thing, even though it's like, it's really loose, you can do whatever the heck you want. But I thought, okay, this year what I'll do is I'll amass a little hunk here of kind of Victorian or Victorian themed books that I perhaps would read if chance would befall me. First, let's start off with my Trollope selections, starting off with my most tiny little book, an autobiography by Anthony Trollope himself, published posthumously. This apparently ruined his reputation for a while because he was just very frank and open about how he's a workhorse. He got up in the morning, he wrote, you know, each and every day, and it was seen as kind of besmirching his thing, is making it kind of like common or like ditch digging or something like that, versus the romance of being inspired as a writer. It's like you're somebody who produces gigantic novels year after year. You're a workman. He's also Anthony Trollope's also an artist, but he's also a workman. In the craftsmanship kind of idea of a workman as well. I have owned this for a while, which is an autobiography, not an autobiography, and a biography. That was the autobiography. This is a biography of Anthony Trollope by Victoria Glendinning, which I've owned for the longest time. I've always meant to get around to it. So this would be a really interesting thing to read in the month of October. I would be kind of tempted to actually pair this with the autobiography, just to kind of see them bounce off of each other, see what stuff that Trollope leaves out, or that that Victoria Glendinning kind of disputes, or just see how the two books kind of talk to each other. That would be kind of an interesting thing. Always interesting to see how someone presents themselves versus how someone like this might from the future would see a figure like Anthony Trollope. So yeah. I am. Oh, and here is a picture of the next one that I'm going to read, which is an actual novel by Anthony Trollope. It's The Vicar of Bullhampton. And why I picked this one of all the Anthony Trollope novels, I happen to be looking at Katie at Books and Things Goodreads page, and she happens to be reading it at the moment. I went, Katie has extremely good taste. I mean, who knows, maybe she's reading it right now and going, wow, this is the worst Trollope ever. But she is also somebody who loves Trollope, and I think, that's good enough for me. Just a random way for me to pick an Anthony Trollope novel that I potentially could read this month. So yeah, The Vicar of Bullhampton. Next book, we're going to get into some Robert Louis Stevenson. This is actually kind of also holdover-ish. It's The Master of Ballantrae by Robert Louis Stevenson, a later Victorian novelist who, he wrote the thin ones. I've actually got this, and I've also got for number 11, I've got The New Arabian Nights by him as well, which I think is more of a collection of it's like a collection of kind of more short stories by him, Robert Louis Stevenson. So yeah, those are my two Stevenson ones. I also thought, okay, I might as well try a couple of new to me Victorian authors. First one being The Egoist by number 12. The Egoist by George Meredith. He's a prominent Victorian novelist. Don't know anything about him. And number 13 is George Elliot, Silas Marner, which I've got this, and I think probably Middlemarch is somewhere around, but I'm not committing to reading Middlemarch in just a month. But yeah, Silas Marner by George Elliot. I think if I'm going to start out, I might as well start out with a thin George Elliot and see how I go with her. But obviously she comes highly recommended as one of the great writers of the Victorian age. So yeah, I should really try her. So yeah, George Eliot. All right. And then the next category, the next and final category is the Canadians, where I'm kind of doing a little bit more orienting. I'm making a little bit more of an effort to read Canadian authors, local Canadian authors to me, as well as just sort of Canadian authors in general. Trying to get a little bit more into that of knowing my own country. So that is both fiction and nonfiction. I think this is mostly fiction, but don't quote me on that. So number 14, I'm gonna do Klee Wyck. By Emily Carr, Victorian author, a Victorian as in lived in Victoria author, Emily Carr. I live in Victoria, BC. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with Klee Wyck. She's one of these omnipresent people. Just as a British Columbian, you get Emily Carr from cradle to the grave. But I've never actually read her, so I thought, okay, I should do that. I've actually when I was reading The West Beyond the West by Jean Barman, A History of British Columbia, it actually had a lot of quotes from Emily Carr's work, a lot of her observations of British Columbian society. So I thought, okay, I should really go to the source and actually read some Emily Carr. So yeah. Number 15 is going to be The Swamp Angel by Ethel Wilson. Number 16 is The Woodsman of the West by Martin Alderdale Granger. Number 17 is, I'm going through these rapidly because I don't actually know too much about them other than titles of kind of bigger works, not bigger works, prominent local works. Number 17 is The Double Hook by Sheila Watson. Number 18 is The Measure of a Year, Reflections of Home, Family, and a Life Fully Lived by Roderick L. Haig Brown. He's the fly fishing guy. That's my expertise. But he's also he's somebody who lived in Campbell River, which is just sort of up the island from where I live now. But number 19, here's some actual books that I can pull up that I've had on my shelves for a while, is The Golden Spruce, a nonfiction book. What's it? A True Story of Myth, Madness, and Greed, by John Vallant. John Vallant. Yes, I've had this on my bookshelf for a long time, so I'm eager to give it a try and get it off my never read list. And finally, number 20, A Complicated Kindness by Miriam Toews. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Rick was actually talking about how there's only a couple of her books that he maybe actually really loves, and he said her name properly, making me realize that however I'm saying it right now is wrong. So if this gets spun up, I will have to learn how to say her name correctly, and I will read this book. All right, that is my 20 books for the Booktube Spin number 4. If you're seeing this video late, and Rick's already announced, the secret is, because I've done this myself, don't watch his video, even if he's released it yet, but go and make a list of 20 and then watch it. And yeah, I still think it counts as, being able to participate in this 2-month quarter of reading, getting some books off of your Mount to be read shelf, Mount to be read pile, and you gotta hurry up, because if you don't, then some little monkey will come by and eat your books and say, you can't do anything. I'm cute and I love your earlobes. So yes. So proper book care. Put them in a place where little short twerps can't get them and get bored and start eating your books. That's wrong. So bye from me. Bye from Theo, who still actually has a part of the book cover stuck to his head. All right. More videos later.